State's Exhibit 326 contain an accurate copy of the interview that took place on October 4th.
Yes, it's redacted, but that's an accurate account of what isn't redacted, yes.
Okay, redacted, but what's there is accurate.
Yes, sir.
And you had an opportunity to review this prior to being in court.
Yes, I did.
Sir, if we could publish States 326 and the accompanying transcript 327.
Any objection?
No objections, Judge.
Thank you. You may.
Thank you.
The date is Tuesday, October 4th, 2016. Time is 1:47 p.m. Detective Major FBI Agent John Minicello at the Essex County Jail preparing to interview Shawn Grate.
Detective, who is FBI Agent John Minicello?
John Minicello is an FBI agent who is assigned in this area, and he went with me to that interview.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thanks, guys. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's fine. Thanks. No, he's fine. Thank you. Appreciate it. Shawn Grate? We were working on something in my office, and they said you want to talk to me, so I'm just bringing with me. All right, so here's the deal. Since you're represented in Ashland County, I gotta go through the same form again. My voice is leaving, I don't know what's going on, but it's not good, is it? All right, Shawn Grate, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say, be used against you in the court of law. Right to talk to a lawyer prior to the questioning and have him present while you're being questioned. If you cannot afford to hire a lawyer, one will be appointed to represent you before the questioning. Do you understand each of your rights? I've explained to you. Have the rights in mind when you do talk to me now. So you initial all those.
Detective, where it says no audible response, was there a nonverbal response to that question?
Yes, there was a head nod in the affirmative.
Thank you.
Time is 1:49. All right. I was going to ask you, let's see, you had Lori at your place on Sunday. On that Sunday. A couple nights before then, you went over late at night and borrowed something from her. Do you remember what it was? Some Band-Aids. Do you remember your house late at night?
Yeah, that was for when Shannon here, still young.
Yeah, what happened there?
On Lyle's truck,
Okay,
I fell back and just ripped it.
okay.
She had hydrocortisone cream.
Is that right? Does the front door work at all? But you would use that side door?
It did for the longest time until Elizabeth. Then I screwed the front door where it wouldn't open.
Because you're afraid somebody would come in?
Yeah. The smell started like the lawnmower man. Yeah. That's when I screwed the front door where I had to push it open real hard to get it opened.
Okay.
But that's all I got to do is just push it real hard. 2 screws in there. Yeah.
So then you would just use that side door to get in?
Yeah, I busted that window out. And then 3 days later, I went back. I watched that place. When I busted the window out, there was someone walking, right? And I never heard it.
Why'd you bust this window?
To get in, I already looked around and realized that no one was living in there.
Oh, okay.
And I tried to get in there. I couldn't get in there. I went into the basement, broke down the window, went to the basement, and couldn't get in there. It was locked. My edges were locked. I was like, oh shit. Took a rug, busted it, one window out, and walked around the block. But when I came back around, there was 2 cops sitting in my parking lot. Because it was loud. Which I learned on TV. I should have put some duct tape on the window. There you go. Then busted it.
They weren't there for that. They were just there.
Yeah, they did. I mean, I don't know. I'll say that a big building with the green wooden, that made it big warehouse building,
Yeah.
went up clear up top. Sat up there, just kind of like watch for like off and on for 3 days. I stayed there. I was going, shit. So we could probably go back. You know, it's like it's clear.
Yeah.
I went in there, checked fuse box, turned on electric. It's like, oh, yeah, and you know what I mean? It's meant. I mean, that's right. There's lead right there. Not proven not to do what I did, but to be able to gain strength, relax, and eat again. You know, but a nice place, electricity, yeah.
Yeah. A change compared to what you were used to for a while.
TV was there. I went and bought VCR because I wanted to get a bunch of VCR cassette players. And I bought that. DVD player. And I get home. And then I figured, well, electric, someone's got to pay for electric eventually. They're going to come in. It's like, I got 30 days to stay here. Yeah, I kept going on and with the stress, I think just kept getting to me, like, you know, that eventually it's time's up here. I think what the hell about anything else.
Why after Elizabeth passed, why did you stay in there at all? Why not just pick up and leave? Which is a good answer if that's the answer, right? If you don't know, you don't know. It's just something I have no purpose other than I just wonder.
I told myself I only had a little while longer. Elizabeth, every time it was really narrowing down. And I keep picturing every day this was going to come in. And then there it is.
So without,
Look at the place on her.
and find her.
Did that scare you? Like, weren't you worried about that? Yeah, it was ending.
It's a lot. A lot going on.
A lot of it's not remorse. Like my case, I think it's more like this poor girl. There ain't nothing she's more better than this to be with God. Where others are like taking up a child or a beautiful lady upstairs and just wanting to steer their body. My heart was pounding for her heart, not her body. For your heart. Her heart has been so hurt, let down in this life. To others, maybe different.
Yeah.
Detective, who is he referring to?
He was referring to Elizabeth Griffith.
Where it was, I could sense her loss and everything, her desires. They're all different in ways.
Yeah. It appears that way, totally. Did you feel like it was your rage inside, or that sometimes it seems like when someone betrays you or you're angry, someone lies to you or betrays you, or pretends to be something they're not. It seems...
That actually is what I'm used to. So it was kind of exciting when they betrayed me.
Because you know what your options are? Okay, because I think you called yourself an opportunist once. So, I'm going to paraphrase this, if correct me when I'm wrong, okay? So, I'm going to use it, so let's take Stacy. She didn't come in there wanting to die, right? She had plans that night. She didn't come in there for that. So when she's in there, it has to be inside you already that this is heading that way. This is going to end bad. And then it just is a wait for you. It's just a wait for her to make that mistake or to tell me the truth, going from it might happen to it's going to happen. What's in your mind? Like, what has to happen for her? What happens there for the switch to happen?
I'll be honest with you. I mentioned that she had sugar daddies. I call it like in a way. I brought that up. And she just straight up lied to me. Just like playing off like she's all innocent. I just seen how she just played this dude about changing her tire. And I'll get over me sometime and all this, you know what I mean? Because she was waiting on this guy to come and change tire, which I would want to change the tire with his tools stuff while she was out in town. Whatever, you know what I mean? It's not used to that type of life.
So did you feel like she had already sealed her fate when you watched her be manipulated to that man?
No. Once you lied to me.
So when you called her sugar, when you called her out on it,
Yeah.
so you...
That's what those guys. And she just took defense already, like, hey, he's just a friend. And then it's like, no. I mean, I've argued with her, because I know that whatever.
Okay.
I said, you don't got, I said, just like I already know, all other women, they do not know that the more honest they are to me, the better we get along. I mean, no matter what the situation. Just be
her fate was sealed when she lied.
Well, she had a chance to leave. I don't know that she thought. She was closer to the door than me. She had her. Oh, the keys were sitting here in the maze. Wrong keys. I walked over here, right? And ran out. Instead, she scratched her mace and the keys. She could have left. She maced me. She already knew that she'd get ready to leave. She wanted to make me up. She was angry.
She what?
She was angry, for sure.
Yeah.
She maced me. I already told him. He's like, do you follow me? I said, no. When he said, if anybody wants to talk to you, I mean, tell him you don't talk to nobody. And I said, don't talk to nobody. I'm trying to figure out. He's like, nobody. I was like, well, seriously, I don't think I need an attorney. Because this is taxpayers' money. I mean, I'm guilty. And I know about it.
Yeah, that would be a battle.
Yeah.
At the same time, like, I can't violate your rights. I'm real funny about that, obviously. I can come here on my own. You called for me, so here I come.
I don't care what the attorney says. If you don't like it, whatever. But on Monday, I was going to, and by the time I did, I was in a sketch, trying to sketch this afternoon. Requested you.
And here I came.
So detective, the guy that this defendant felt Stacy was playing, I guess, to use his word, who would that be?
Well, on the phone, that would have been her son that he said she was playing. And the guy who was going to change the tire was a family friend.
And that she was playing him somehow and some kind of sugar daddy? Is
Yeah,
that how you took that?
yes.
And what is this lie then that seals her fate?
He confronts her about these guys being someone being her sugar daddy, and she was saying that it's just a friend.
And he felt that was a lie,
Yes,
and that sealed her fate.
that sealed her fate.
Did you have occasion to speak to the defendant again?
I did.
When was that?
The next time was October 5th, 2016.
And then the recording of that interview is in 2 parts, is that correct?
Yes.
I'm going to show States Exhibit 328, 329, 330, 331, and 332 to the defense counsel. I'll show you 329 and Exhibit 331.
Okay. Exhibits 329 and 331 are discs that have the recordings on them from my interview of Shawn Grate, which took place on October 5th, 2016. They are signed by me and dated on the date that I authenticated these by listening to them.
And so you listened to them prior to coming to court today?
Yes, sir.
And they are authentic?
They are authentic.
They're an accurate recording of what transpired on October 5th, 2016.
Yes.
And they are likewise redacted, is that correct?
They are redacted.
And the remaining portions are accurate?
Yes, sir.
And why did you, how did it come to pass that you interviewed the defendant again on October 5th?
I was contacted by the Ashland County Sheriff's Office and advised that Shawn Grate was requesting to meet with me.
Show you State's Exhibit 328.
Okay.
Can you tell us what that is?
State's Exhibit 328 is a copy of the original of the Miranda warnings form that I presented to Shawn Grate on October 5th, 2016. It is initialed by each right, and it's signed and dated by him as well as myself.
And your recitation of those warnings, is that included in the audio of the interview taking place October 5th?
Yes, sir.
And is State's Exhibit 328 an accurate copy of the form as it was filled out by yourself and the defendant on October 5th?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, October 5th.
Yes.
And did the defendant on this occasion understand his warnings?
Yes, he did.
And did he agree to speak with you?
Yes, he did.
I wonder if we could publish 329 and the accompanying Exhibit 330?
Any objection?
No objection.
Thank you. You may. I think there's short one over here, Mr. Tadell. Oh, you got it now? Okay.
11 p.m. I'm at the Ashland County Sheriff's Office. Shawn Grate was requested to speak with me. Sorry, without paying work.
Requesting you,
You took one cup off.
I'm waiting on Flipper. He's to the right. Down here. It's late today. It's worse and worse after that. Yeah.
Thanks, guys. How's it going? I gotta read the form. Sergeant Reed, Terry Reed, called over and said that you had requested me. You have a right to remain silent. Anything you say cannot be used against you in the court of law. You have the right to talk to a lawyer prior to any questioning and have a present law when you reach it. If you can afford to hire a lawyer, one will be appointed to represent you before any questioning. Do you understand each of your rights I've explained?
Yes.
Having these rights in mind, do you want to talk to me? Having these rights in mind, do you want to talk to me?
Yes. Wait. I'm all messed up. I'm trying to think of everything.
I'm sorry. So did you understand your rights when I explained them?
Yeah.
And having your rights in mind, meaning knowing your rights, do you still want to talk to me?
Yes.
Okay. You're all right.
Then,
I do that every time, you, obviously, because I'm not allowed to come over and talk to you, but you requested me, so I came.
publish 331 and the accompanying transcript 332, Your Honor.
Any objection?
No objection.
You may.
I know you buried those 2 canisters, the rocks, and then there was some jewelry. In any of your other forts, is there anything buried near them? Just those?
Yeah. Yeah.
And the significance of the rocks was just that you liked them, you don't want anything to happen to them?
I don't do. Yes. They were buried for probably, well, right when I got there, I buried them. Well, I'll still Charles Mill. I buried her. And I come back to the tree of dollars. And then maybe gather up some stuff, non-perishables, food and stuff. Take it over there, like walk up the hill and around, and go back to Charles Mill.
So you can stay from the fort to the trailers, to the fort to the trailers. Definitely. So, when's the last time you had a car at all?
Like before Stacy, driving with Stacy?
Yeah, I know you drove that, but before then, did you ever feel like, wait a minute, this reminds me of something. When Lori was in your place, and you would come in the dark and shine a flashlight or a lighter to see her, why not just have a light on?
Well, I kept the light down a lot. Yeah, usually about midnight to 5 in the morning is the time I use the light, if I have to. I don't use much electric.
That way nobody would see you, or that way?
Yeah, because the house right up there is like the homeless shelter, and I think they were tied to with what they work for.
Yeah.
And I thought you knew I was in there. You just didn't really put 2 together. You know, maybe
Yeah.
there's people who know I was in there. I go along there, man, 3 or 4 times, like in a half hour to refill the whole water. Yeah, man, they're walking right down in the alley. They're from people from the house and stuff. I'm giving that one. Well, Lori suggested that I want to give her this bear thing and other things, and she's not really into collectibles or anything like that. Well, we passed this little girl and her dad in an alley, and we walked back around and gave it to them. And I know they've seen me right in that area a lot.
What's the significance of all the stuffed animals that you have?
Just happened to grab a bag. Those 3 donation boxes across the street. I would jump in. Well, at first I would just reach in there and grab bags and just carry
good.
No. So then, all the bags I was getting were female clothes and stuff. Well, I think jeans, like things like that. I got a request for some t-shirts for guys. And then I was trying to make some money. I never could find no guy shirts, guy clothes. So I jumped in, go through.
So, if you know it's brewing, it might happen. Would the next person, the next opportunity be it, or would it not be? You know what I mean? How would that be? Like,
Yeah, Stacy was probably more like a girl in Bizzle or things she said just really hurt me and things built up.
will you be honest with me about something?
Yeah.
When you first offered to help Stacy, was it already brewing for you then?
No.
When you went back to your place and waited, or wherever, waited for 10 minutes and came back, was it brewing then?
Detective, what do you mean it's brewing?
Meaning that urge or that hunger to kill someone.
And that's something the two of you had discussed in your conversations?
We had, yes.
First 15 minutes, I just actually took my umbrella and was like, well, I offered to try to change her tire. And she didn't have the rubber tools. She's waiting on the guy to bring me a jack. Okay, well, how about I'll give you this umbrella because I have another one. And it's like, oh no, that's okay.
Like, what was your view of her right at that moment? When you offered her help and she says, I have somebody bringing a jack. What was your view of her at that point?
Just talking. It was mainly just a conversation.
So when you left and came back,
I never left.
oh, you never left, okay.
No, I offered to give her the umbrella though, and she offered that I could just wait with her. I'm like, okay, yeah, she asked what I was doing. I just come get some cigarettes. Seeing you standing here, like there was something wrong. I asked her, is everything okay? Yeah. She pointed at her car, that tire, well, I changed her tire. I said, well, your insurance is flat, I mean, it could be a leak. And we could put some air in it. We tried to put air in it, and it was done before. I was thinking, nice lady, possibly call for me to be able to find someone to take me in and I could start over.
When did that change?
Probably when she started talking about that guy about getting together sometime. She was on the phone, I think, with her son. Like, why are you with another guy? You know, I mean, the guy's coming to help you. You know, like she's being dumped out by her son or someone, whoever she was talking to. I don't know what it was. But it was like on her case about, like, why is she talking to me? One and another, when someone's coming. It's like, I talked to one of my friends is coming over to help you. You know what I mean? And she initiated it with him to get together sometime. That's when I called her out later.
So when
Started
you,
growing that.
so it's during then?
Just another sneaky woman, a user,
Okay.
and they learn, you know, that she told on herself about getting, I call it a retard check, but this was a check each month.
So when you asked her to come in,
sure what I was gonna do.
But you knew it might happen.
Yeah. Like,
Thank you. Being honest.
I wasn't too sure. It's really like, was premeditated with her anyway, before I even got into the house. It was brewing. It just depends on how things went.
So detective, how did you take that to mean? That before he got in the house, it was brewing?
I took that to mean that her fate was sealed, that he already knew what was going to happen before he even walked in the house with her.
Do you feel in that situation that, yes, okay, and inevitably, when she comes in, she's gonna say something wrong. But the chances of her early becoming are pretty slim, am I right? When she comes in, she's gonna mess up.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're right. We hit it off though first for a while. Just talking.
Can I ask you this?
Yes, right? Started making out. Everything was fine, right?
When you're kissing and making out.
It was around a little bit. She started like, oh, yeah, this is my job.
Like she didn't want to go farther than that?
Yeah, and that's when I called her out on sugar daddies. If I had listed out $40, I could do something. You know what I mean? Yeah, no matter what it is, it's going to get bad. During sex, probably would just somebody drink water the door, make it slow.
So states 333, 334, and 335 to the defense counsel. Did you have occasion to talk to the defendant again?
I did.
When was that?
October 17th, 2016.
And did you record that interview?
Yes, I did.
Show you states exhibit 334.
Okay.
Was that?
States Exhibit 334 is a disc, and there's a recording on the disc, redacted recording on the disc from my interview with Shawn Grate on October 17, 2016. It is signed in full by me and dated with the date that I authenticated it by listening to it.
And is it an accurate recording or an accurate, embodiment of the interview that occurred on October 17, 2016?
Yes, it is.
And you reviewed it prior to coming to court today?
Yes, I did.
Is it 334 accurate?
Yes, it is.
It's also redacted, is it not?
It is redacted.
The unredacted portion contained on 334 is true and accurate?
Yes.
And what caused you to be speaking with the defendant yet again on October 17, 2016?
Grate had requested me several times, and I went over on October 17th related to his request to meet with me.
I'll show you States Exhibit 333.
Okay.
Can you identify that document?
Yes, States Exhibit 333 is a copy of the original Miranda warnings form that I presented to Shawn Grate on October 17, 2016. The rights are initialed and it's signed by Shawn Grate, signed by myself, and dated.
And you did that with the recorder running?
Yes, I did.
So that's contained within States 334?
Yes.
And did he understand his rights as you read them?
Yes, he did.
And did he agree to
Yes, he did.
And his State's Exhibit 333, a true and accurate copy of the Miranda warning form, was filled out by yourself and the defendant on October 17, 2016.
Yes.
And permission to publish 334 and the accompanying transcript at 335.
Any objection, Mr. Whitman?
No objection.
You may.
The date, October 17, 2016, time is 14:15 hours. Detective Major preparing to interview Shawn Grate. He is requested to office. Jail Division. He wrote a kite and a couple additional messages as well. I'm not getting maximum security. Relax, okay? All right, thank you. Hey. I go to form before I can talk, okay? You're going to remain silent. Anything you say, okay, while you're issuing a report off. Get ready to talk to the lawyer prior to any questioning and have him present while you're being questioned. The California hired lawyer will be appointed to represent you before questioning. All right, you understand the rights I've explained to you? Okay. Having these rights in mind, we talk to him. Okay. I'm here because you sent me kite, and then you sent some messages and you tried to talk to me and then didn't get to. I'm going to have you initial this. Initial this. Did your Apple phone have a number to it?
No, no, give it to me.
There's no cell phone, there's no number? What's the number? Is there a 543 number that you have? 419-543?
5436.
What's that number?
Traffic phone. That's what I got. Somebody got to have the same about. So you can get on it.
Detective, are we to understand then that the defendant had two cell phones?
Yes.
And he recites there his, the phone number of that.
Yes.
As part of your investigation, can you tell us, that's the Detective Lay or Captain Lay had testified earlier that he had dialed a phone number that went to a voicemail by the name of Shawn.
Yes.
By the same number?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, can counsel approach?
You may.
All right, Detective Major, you'll recall on Friday, we played State's Exhibit 283.
Yes.
And that was one of the portions of the interview from September 13th, 2016.
Yes, sir.
And 283, there's a portion of that interview right at the end that was skipped within the portion that was played. Do you recall that?
I do recall that.
It's in the transcript, but skipped.
Yes.
Okay, that's been marked as State's Exhibit 283B
Okay.
for the record. And Your Honor, if we could just play that at this time.
There being no objection, you may.
Thank you.
Yep, I'll get you here. Ready to go?
I think so.
Okay.
You met Stacy at the gas station. Was she walking or was she driving?
Driving.
What's her car look like? Pontiac? You know what color it was?
It's gray.
All right, do you have any of your belongings in that car?
No.
Now, the defendant there indicates the vehicle's a Pontiac, correct?
Yes.
And what type of car is it, in fact?
It's a Mitsubishi.
Color?
I believe gray.
And that portion we just heard of what we've marked as State's Exhibit 283B, that is an accurate recording of a portion of your interview that you conducted on September 13th?
Yes, it is.
2016?
Yes.
Detective, the individual that you met with course of the interviews that we've been listening to the past day and a half. Is he here in the courtroom?
Yes, he is.
Could you point him out and describe what he's wearing?
Shawn Grate seated at the defendant's table between Mr. Whitney and Mr. Whitney wearing a white button-up shirt and a tie with glasses.
The record to reflect the identification of the defendant.
Record will so reflect.
Thank you, Detective. Nothing further.
Cross-examine.
No questions, this witness, Judge, thank you.
Thank you. May stand down, Detective. Next witness, Mr. Tennell.
David Marcelli, Your Honor.
Sir, do you solemnly swear affirm the testimony about to give this matter to be the truth, nothing but the truth, sir? Yes, sir, it is correct.
All right. Thank you, Your Honor. Would you tell us your name, please?
David Marcelli,
And how are you employed?
City of Ashland Division of Police,
And what do you do for the Division of Police?
currently assigned as the Chief of Police,
And how long have you been the Chief of Police?
8 years,
And how long have you been with the Ashland Division of Police?
26 years.
And what did you do before that?
I worked undercover narcotics for 2.5 years,
Where was that?
Wayne County.
Okay. And, Chief, were you on duty September 13th, 2016?
Yes, sir, I was.
As the Chief of Police, is it fairly rare that you're not on duty?
Yes,
Or at least on call somewhere?
yes, sir.
Okay. Did you have occasion, certainly as the chief, you were informed that there was an incident early in the morning at Covert Court that day,
Yes,
correct?
sir.
Okay. And I believe Captain Lay was working on that situation with the detectives, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Is Captain Lay essentially the number 2 at the department?
Yes, sir.
At some point during the day, did you take a more direct and active role in the investigation?
Yes, we were stretched fairly thin. I had spent all day on station coordinating the efforts of the investigation with the detectives and patrol division. We had occasion to search a few areas within the city limits, specifically the Hess and Clark building. I called for cadaver dog teams from Medina County to come down, and I accompanied that team, as well as Officer Lee Eggman and Officer James Coy, to the Hess and Clark building to search it.
And where is the Hess and Clark building?
10 East 7th Street.
And I guess, where is it in relation then to this house on Covert Court that we've been speaking of?
Roughly 3 blocks.
And in fact, you can see it from the house at Covert
Correct.
Court, is that
Correct.
correct? Describe the exterior of the building.
It's boarded up, but frequently people get inside of it. They pull the securing wood down and enter the building. But
And that happens frequently.
correct,
Your department has been to many calls for
Correct.
people trespassing in that vacant structure.
correct. I had been in there the day before.
on such a call?
No, I was in there as part of the search for the missing women.
Okay. With no results at that time?
No, sir.
Okay, but you were looking for actual people at that point?
Correct.
Right. What all were you looking for on September 13th?
Captain Lay said that he had received information from Mr. Grate that he had been staying in that building in the tower or the silo area and had left some belongings there, specifically a blue sleeping bag.
Okay. And what's a cadaver dog team?
A cadaver dog is a specially trained dog it's trained to seek out and locate human remains.
And what was your, I guess, why have a cadaver dog team with you through that location?
Because of the nature of the investigation and the information that we had gleaned to that point, I thought it was prudent that we search areas that we knew Mr. Grate had been in order to find any human remains that may have been there.
And did you find any human remains?
No, sir, we did not.
Were you successful, however, in finding anything related to the investigation?
Yes, sir, the sleeping bag and some other property as described by Captain Lay.
I'm going to show States Exhibit 336 to the Defense Counsel. Show you what we've marked for purposes of identification in States Exhibit 336. Do you recognize what's depicted in that photograph?
Yes, it's a blue sleeping bag with tartan lining and a brown jacket and a blue fleece blanket.
Your Honor, if we could publish that exhibit?
Any objection?
No objection, Judge, thank you.
All right, and approximately where in the building was this located?
That's at the top of that silo. I estimate it to be about 3 stories high.
Okay. And that is the area that you were specifically looking to look in?
Correct. We searched the whole building, but specifically I went up the ladder and located these objects.
Okay. And those are as described as Captain Lay,
Correct.
who indicated he got that information from the defendant.
Correct.
Is, let's see, States Exhibit 336 a fair and accurate depiction of the scene as you saw it on September 13th, 2016?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Chief. Nothing further.
Cross-examine?
No questions of Chief Marcelli. Judge, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief. Your excuse.
Officer Jeremy Jarvis, you know.
Thank you.
Tell us your name, please.
Officer Jeremy Jarvis,
And how are you employed?
City of Ashland, police officer,
And how long have you been a police officer with the city of Ashland?
over 10 years.
And is that the sum total of your career in law enforcement?
No, I've got 7 years with the sheriff's office also here in Ashland County.
And, let's see. Were you on duty September 24th, 2016?
I was.
What shift were you working?
Day shift, 6A to 6P.
And did you have occasion to stop by a location in the vicinity of the Stony Creek Apartments?
I did.
Where your fellow officers were, I guess, taking part in a search? Reference this case?
I did.
Okay. And who was there when you got there?
Officer Newman and Sergeant Bloodhart.
And what were they doing?
They had metal detectors and they were getting ready to search the area along the fence back behind Stony Creek.
And what was your understanding of what they were looking for?
They were looking for a key.
We've had prior testimony that there was a map drawn, the approximate location of the key. Prior to September 24th or leading up to your arrival at this location, had you seen this map?
I did not.
Okay. Did you have an idea of where to look?
Just where they were looking at the metal detectors. They said what area it was as far as where they were looking.
Okay. Now, were you supposed to be part of this search team?
I was not.
Okay. So what were you doing there?
I finished up a call on Virginia Avenue. I drove over there to where they were at. I wasn't sure what they were doing, so I got out just to see what they were doing, and they explained that they were looking for a key.
And so what'd you do?
I walked maybe 10 feet in front of Officer Newman, took one step in towards the fence, and looked down, and there was a key.
Had they even been able to turn on the metal detectors at that point?
I think they had just started.
Okay. This shows States Exhibit 337 and 338 to Defense Counsel. Show you States Exhibit 337. You recognize what's depicted in that photograph?
I do.
What's in that photograph?
That is the key that I saw laying there.
Your Honor, if we could publish 337 with the jury.
Any objection?
No objection, Judge.
Approximately where in the photograph is the key located?
Just a little ways from the fence, beside some asphalt.
Okay, sort of in the middle of the picture,
Yes,
sort of obviously the silver-looking object next to the chunk of asphalt there.
yes.
And is that photograph, is that how the key looked when you stepped into the weeds there and looked down?
Yes, it is.
Show you States Exhibit 338. What does that photograph depict?
That is Sergeant Bloodhart pointing at the key or doing something.
Okay.
That is the area where the key was at.
If we could publish that photograph, Your Honor.
Any objection?
No objection, Judge.
You may.
All right, so that's Officer Bloodhart there.
Yes,
Is Officer Bloodhart in the approximate location of where the key would be
yes, he is.
in relation to the fence, I guess?
Yes,
Okay. And is that how the scene looked when you observed it on September 24, 2016?
yes, it is.
Are both of those photographs a fair and accurate depiction of the scene as you saw it on September 24th?
Yes, they are.
Did you collect that key?
I did not.
After pointing out the key to your fellow officers, what'd you do?
I went to another call I got dispatched to.
So you pointed out the key to them and left.
Yep.
Thank you, officer. Nothing further.
Cross?
No questions of Officer Jarvis, Judge. Thank you.
Thank you. You're excused, officer.
Thank you.
Call Officer Abe Newman.
Sir, you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony about to give this matter to be true, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Would you tell us your name, please?
Abram Newman.
And how are you employed, sir?
I'm a police officer with the City of Ashland Division of Police
And how long have you been with the Division of Police?
since 2007.
And what do you do for the Division of Police?
I'm a patrol officer.
And what kind of things does a patrol officer do?
Patrol officers respond to criminal complaints, traffic complaints. We self-initiate our own activity. We help the Detective Bureau if need be.
And on September 24th, 2016, did you get called upon to help out the Detective Bureau?
Yes, I did by officer, or I should say Detective Major.
Okay, and I guess what was your mission on September 24th?
Our mission was to locate a key that was believed to have gone to Elizabeth Griffith's apartment.
And where's this key supposed to be located?
The fire lane / alley behind Stony Creek apartment.
And were you given any specific information as to where this key might be located?
We were given a map with a possible location.
Okay, show you what we've marked for purposes of identification as State's Exhibit 306. Do you recognize that document?
Yes, I do.
What is that?
This is the map that I was shown of where this key may be.
Okay. And so with that information, what did you do?
BCI had provided metal detectors to us. Sergeant Bloodhart at the time and I proceeded to that location with that equipment to basically start a plan as to how we were going to tackle this task.
Okay. And did you and Sergeant Bloodhart formulate a plan?
Yeah, he was going to start at one end. He started at the east end of this alley, and I started at the west end of this alley.
Okay. And did any of your fellow officers join you at that time?
Officer Jarvis joined us shortly after.
Okay. And what happened?
Luck of the draw, he walked up to the same area we were searching with metal detectors, and he located this key.
And did he point the key out to you and Officer and Sergeant Bloodhart?
Yes, he did. He pointed it out to me.
And then what did he do?
Then what did who do?
What did Jarvis do?
I think he just stood by the key and guarded it. I photographed this area.
Okay. And at some point, did Officer Jarvis leave?
Yes, I believe so, yes.
Okay. Judge, I've previously shown 337 and 338 defense counsel. I'll show them 339 and 340. Show you what we've marked as 337. Do you recognize what that is?
That would be the photo of the key.
Your Honor, if we could publish these as we go.
Any objection to 339 or 340?
No, good.
Thank you.
All right, so State's Exhibit 337, is that the picture of the key?
That would be the picture of the key, yes.
Okay, and is that as you and your fellow officers found it on September 24th?
Yes, it is.
State's Exhibit 338, what is depicted there?
That picture would be Sergeant Bloodhart at the time pointing to that picture, or to the key, I'm sorry.
Okay, pointing to the key. Now, drawing your attention back to the map, I think it's marked as 306.
Yes,
This indicates the fence here, and there's a circled area with key written in it.
correct.
The area that you located, or that Officer Jarvis pointed the key out to you and Sergeant Bloodhart, is that consistent with where it's marked on the map the key should be?
Yes, it is.
I'll show you State's Exhibit 39. What is depicted there?
This is the alley, the fire lane / alley behind Stony Creek. It runs from Holbrook to behind the apartment complex and dead ends.
Okay, so what are we looking towards in that photograph?
In this photo, you're looking eastbound from Holbrook Street. These trees, there, you can see the fence here. And then where it comes out to the trees, that's roughly the area this key was located at.
Okay, on the alley side of the fence?
Yes.
Okay. And then in fact, the I guess beige building just beyond the Ashland Police Department cruisers, that's part of the Stony Creek apartment complex?
That is correct.
Showing you State's Exhibit 340. What is that view?
This would be a close-up / mid-range photo between where we had originally started from Holbrook Street to where the key was located.
Okay, and so the key would be roughly where within that photograph?
You see that first main tree there? And then there's another tree to the right behind it. It was located roughly right in that area.
Okay. So between those two trees that are sort of centered in the picture?
Yes.
State's Exhibits 337, 338, 339, and 340. Are they all fair and accurate depictions of the scene as it appeared to you and your fellow officers on September 24th, 2016?
Yes, they are.
After taking photographs of the area and the scene, what did you do with the key?
I collected the key and placed it into evidence.
Show you what we've marked as State's Exhibit 198. And that exhibit has already been opened by a prior witness, BCI agent Ed Staley.
Okay.
And what does that exhibit appear to be?
This appears to be the key that we located.
And is that the packaging that you put it in?
Yes, it is, with my handwriting on it.
Show Defense Counsel State's Exhibit 199. I'll show you State's Exhibit 199 and ask if you can identify that document.
This would be an evidence log that is also filled out by myself on that date.
And what is the purpose of that evidence log?
In case someone else were to take that evidence out of evidence, it basically tracks who has access to that evidence.
Okay, and you filled that form out?
Initially, yes, I did.
Okay, and what did you do, what does it document you did with the key?
It documents that I took it from the scene into my possession, and then my possession into an evidence locker at Ashland Police Department.
And with reference to the key marked as, let's see, State's Exhibit 198, does it appear to be in substantially similar condition today as when you collected it on September 24th, 2016?
The key of the packaging.
No, I guess the key is.
Yes, the key is still in the same condition.
Yeah, packaging seemed better damaged.
Correct.
Okay. And then State's Exhibit 199, is that a fair and accurate copy of the document evidence log as you filled it out on September 24th?
Yes, it is.
And is that evidence log, is that a form that you typically use in the course of your activities on behalf of the Ashland Police Department?
Yes, it is.
Now, after collecting the key from the scene out there along the fence line, that same day, did you have more involvement in the case?
Yes, roughly 2 hours later, I was asked again by Detective Major to respond to Stony Creek Apartments
Okay, for what purpose?
to collect the lock off of Elizabeth Griffith's door.
Okay. And did you do so?
I did. I met with Raymond Fuller in the parking lot of 242 Matthews Avenue.
And who is Raymond Fuller?
He was an employee for Stony Creek.
Okay. And was he able to provide you with anything?
He provided me with a box that contained the locking mechanism off of that door.
And did you go with him to collect this lock?
No, I did not.
Okay. So he just produced it to you?
That is correct.
Did you just meet him in the parking lot and he handed it to you?
That is correct.
Okay. I'm going to show you State's Exhibit 200 and ask if you can identify that exhibit.
This would be the locking mechanism that Mr. Fuller handed me on that date.
And how do you know that that is the locking mechanism that Mr. Fuller handed you?
Well, because it came out of the evidence bag that's filled out and addressed by myself.
Okay. Show you State's Exhibit 201. What is State's Exhibit 201?
Exhibit 201 is another evidence log, again filled out and addressed by myself.
Okay, and what does that evidence log document?
It documents me collecting the quick-set lock from 242 Matthews Apartment L. Again, it's relinquished by Raymond Fuller to myself, and then I turned it from myself over to an evidence locker at Ashland Police Department.
And does Exhibit 200 appear to be in substantially similar condition to as it appeared on September 24th when you received it from Mr. Fuller?
Yes, it does.
And is State's Exhibit 201 a fair and accurate copy of the Ashland Police Department evidence log documenting the movement of Exhibit 200 as you filled it out on September 24th, 2016?
Yes, it does.
And again, this is a form that you used in the course of conducting the Ashland Police Department's routine business.
That's correct.
Thank you, officer. Nothing further.
Cross-examine, Mr. Whitney.
No questions of Officer Newman, Judge, thank you.
Thank you. Officer Newman, you're excused.
Thank you.
We'll call Raymond Fuller now.
Okay.
Sir, you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this matter to be the truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God? Yes. Have a seat. Speak in the mic, okay?
May proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Could you tell us your name, please?
Name's Raymond Fuller.
And how are you employed, Mr. Fuller?
I am the maintenance supervisor at Stony Creek Apartments here in Ashland, Ohio.
And how long have you been the maintenance supervisor?
It's going on 2.5 years
And did you work at Stony Creek prior to that in another capacity?
as a maintenance technician,
Okay.
subcontractor.
All right. What is Stony Creek?
Stony Creek is a housing development. We have 156 units here locally in Ashland, Ohio.
And you're the maintenance supervisor for that entire complex?
Yes,
Okay. And I take it you were the maintenance supervisor in September of 2016?
yes.
Was there in September, or prior to September of 2016, was there an individual that had an apartment at Stony Creek by the name of Elizabeth Griffith?
Yes, there was.
What apartment did she have?
It was 242 Matthews Avenue, apartment L.
Okay. And at some point, were you asked by the Ashland Police Department to relinquish the lock?
Yes.
Where was the lock?
The lock was removed from the door and set on the floor inside the unit so no one could enter the unit until after the investigation.
Okay, and who removed the lock from the door?
I did.
And I take it you replaced it with a different lock?
Yes,
And who had the key to that lock?
I did.
And you placed the old lock inside the unit?
Yes, until the officer called me and I relinquished it to them.
And did you remove the lock and place it inside the unit on your own or at the request of someone?
At the request of the officer.
Okay. And you personally did all of that?
Yes, I walked it down the steps and stood there in the parking lot.
Okay, and then you handed it to?
The officer that showed up and he took my information.
Okay, I'm gonna show you what we marked as State's Exhibit 200. Do you recognize what that is?
Yes, I do. It's the lock set that was removed from her door. This is a master lock key set. Actually, if you don't mind, my master key here should fit it.
Do you have the master key?
Yes, sir.
And for the record, Your Honor, the witness demonstrated using his master key and his key chain to turn the lock that is marked as State's Exhibit 200.
Record will so reflect the demonstration.
Thank you, Your Honor. And does State's Exhibit 200, this lock, does it look just like it did the day you handed it over to the Ashland Police Department?
It's in the original box that the new lock set that went on the door came in.
Did you know Elizabeth Griffith?
On a professional level, I did several maintenance calls, defrosted her refrigerator, had some cheerful conversations.
What was your impression of Elizabeth Griffith?
She was a gentle soul. She would always make us little thank you cards and memorabilia and bring it to the office, little flowers in a vase she found out in the yard or something. And she was,
And she'd just do that on her own?
yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Fuller.
Cross-examine?
No, Judge, thank you, no more.
Thank you. You're excused, sir. It's now 2:51 PM. I think we'll take an afternoon recess at this time for like 10, 15 minutes. Ladies and gentlemen, don't talk about the case with anyone. Don't let anybody discuss it with you. Please comply with the court's general order of admonitions as before. We'll be in recess roughly 10, 15 minutes. may be seated. It's now 3:05 on the courtroom clock. The record should reflect that all 12 jurors and 5 alternates have returned to the courtroom. Mr. Grate's present with counsel as our counsel for the state of Ohio. You may call your next witness, Mr. Tennell.
We'll call Deborah Steinauer, Your Honor.
Ma'am, do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give this matter be the truth, nothing but the true self you got?
Yes, sir.
If you would speak up into the mic.
Okay.
Thank you.
Would you tell us your name, please?
Deborah Steinauer.
And how are you employed?
I work at Circle K as a manager.
And how long have you been at Circle K as a manager?
17 years.
And which Circle K store?
The one on East Main Street, 411 East Main Street.
Okay, City of Ashland?
Yes, sir.
And is that the store that you've been the manager of for all 17 years?
Yes.
Does that store have a video surveillance system?
Yes, sir.
Who has access to that video surveillance system?
Only the manager or assistant manager. That's the only 2 people.
Okay, so you and another person.
Yes, sir.
Has it had video surveillance all 17 years of your tenure there?
No, we only got the cameras in when Circle K took over.
Okay. So you actually predate that location as Circle K?
Yes, sir. Dairy Mart.
I was about to say, it was a Dairy Mart, was it not?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And when when did that happen? When did it become a Circle K, approximately?
Oh, maybe about 10 years ago, something like that.
Okay, so you've had cameras for the last 10 years?
Yes.
Have they upgraded them at various times?
Yes.
And when you got cameras in there 10 years ago, were you trained on their use?
Yes.
And as they've had periodic upgrades and maintenance, have you also been trained in the upgrades?
Yes, sir.
And the video surveillance system that was in operation in September of 2016, you're familiar with how that works?
Yes.
How does that video surveillance system work?
Well, whenever we have cameras at the door and someone comes in the door, it takes the image of the person, and when they come to the register, that shows the person at the register. It will also, we can actually show where the transaction that they've made, everything that they bought, and we can, there's cameras at the register, there's cameras in the beer cave, and in the back coolers is where it's at.
And how often do you find yourself checking the video surveillance system?
We have to watch our cameras every day for at least an hour.
Okay, so every day for an hour, at least an hour, you have to...
I watch my video, yes.
Okay, and are you able to download video then?
Yes.
And does it store the video?
It will store them for like 6 months is what it stores.
Okay, and then you can access it for the last 6 months?
Yes.
And you know how to do that?
Yes.
And you're authorized to do that?
Yes.
Did there come a time when the Ashland Police Department was looking for video of your store in September of 2016?
Yes.
And were you able to review your video?
Yes.
Who requested it?
I'm not for sure of the officer's name, but one of the officers from the city police department came down.
Okay, and what were you requested to do?
He wanted me to burn a CD of a certain date and certain times is what he wanted me to do.
Okay, did he have a certain subject he was looking for?
Oh, I'm trying to remember. I don't think he actually said what he was looking for. I think he just wanted me to burn the CD for those particular times is what it is.
Okay, and were you able to do so?
Yes.
What times was he interested in, if you recall?
You know what, I can't really remember what times it was, but I know that it was like maybe, I want to say like from 5 to 10, something like that. Somewhere around through that area.
On a particular day?
Yes.
Do you recall the day?
Not offhand, I don't, I'm sorry.
Okay. But you were able to download it and put it on disk?
Yes.
And did you provide that disk to him?
Yes.
Show counsel what we marked as State's Exhibit 341.
Yes, thank you.
And do you recognize State's Exhibit 341?
Yes, sir.
And what is State's Exhibit 341?
That's the CD that I burnt for the police department.
Okay. The officer did not review that footage with you at the store?
No, I just burn it, and what I do is I put it in an envelope and then call them and tell them that it's ready to be picked up.
Okay. It sounds like you've done that before.
Many a time, yes.
Okay. That particular exhibit that's in front of you, does it bear your initials?
Yes, it does.
And what do those initials mean?
What do they,
Yeah,
Deborah?
what'd you put your initials on there for?
Because you guys asked me to put my initials on there and make sure that it was actually, I'm the one that burnt the CD. is what it
Okay,
is.
and you watched it?
Yes, I did.
And it's an accurate recording of that time period that
Yes,
you were
it is.
asked to burn?
Yes.
Is there a timestamp included in the video system?
Yes, because as soon as it's, when you're watching the video, it will actually show you the time, and it'll show you the date that's on the, when you burnt the CD and everything.
And is that timestamp accurate?
Yes, sir, it is. It's very accurate.
And if I could publish just a portion of that exhibit, Judge.
Any objection, Mr. Whitney?
No, Judge, thank you.
I've got multiple thumbnails up here. That's what you want?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
All right, what are we looking at there?
Picture of my store where all the cameras are at among my store.
Okay, and so those would be the different views and of different cameras?
Yes,
And they're all running at the same time?
yes. As long as there's movement in my store, it will start recording is what it will do.
And what happens when there's no movement?
It will stop recording.
Pretty fancy.
Yes, it is.
Okay. And these views of the inside of your store, they are all fair and accurate representations of how your store looked on the day in September 2016. It was requested by the Ashland Police Department.
Yes, sir.
And then you indicated there's a timestamp as to each one. Where is that located?
It should be kind of like down around the right-hand corners where it's usually at.
Okay, and each frame can be manipulated into being its own full screen?
Yes,
And that's all done from the same, you just hit start and they all start playing?
right.
Now where it stops and has last image, etc., what does that indicate?
Means there's no movement at that particular area.
Okay. But you can click and enlarge one view over the other, correct?
Yes, you can take and there's all the cameras are on the screen, and you can take and you can delete any screen you want, and then you can blow it up as big as the screen if you need to do that, if you're looking for something really special.
Okay, where we blow up the view that's on your front door, and I take it that's the front door?
Yes.
There's only one way in and out for the public, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. That would be the timestamp underneath the picture, underneath the video, is that correct?
Yes.
And then you can just let it run.
Correct.
All right, but again, you just burned the CD for the time period and turned it over to the detective?
Yes, sir.
And then,
I just give it to them.
okay. And what we're watching here in all of the views is a portion of that time frame that you provided to the Ashland Police Department?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Nothing further.
Cross?
No questions, this witness, Judge.
Thank you, ma'am. You're excused.
Thank you.
Detective Brian Evans, Your Honor. Tell us your name, please.
Brian Evans,
And how are you employed, sir?
through the City of Ashland Division of Police.
And how long have you been with the Division of Police?
About 20 and a half years.
And what do you do currently for the Division of Police?
I'm currently a detective.
Now, were you working on September 13th, 2016?
Yes,
And at some point, did you become aware there was an incident on Covert Court in the city of Ashland?
yes.
About what time were you made aware of that situation?
I believe it was around 8 a.m.-ish that morning.
Okay, and what'd you do?
I was actually on my way to work. I got a call from Captain Lay, who was in charge of the Detective Bureau at the time, said that patrol had an incident and requested me to come to the station. I was already en route and then met with him on station.
And were you briefed on what was occurring?
Yes.
What was believed to have occurred at that time?
I believe that someone had called 911 that was being held in one of the abandoned houses there on Covert Court by 4th, and that officers got there and rescued her, and I was told at the time she was at the hospital being evaluated, and that the officers had secured the 2 abandoned houses next to each other on Covert Court by 4th Street, and I was going to be going to the area and preparing a search warrant for those houses. And I was also told that they'd already been given permission by Bruce Wilkinson, who's the owner of the 2 houses.
Okay. And Bruce Wilkerson, he is associated with what entity?
The Pump House Ministries.
Now, he had given permission to enter the house, but is a search warrant a requirement of BCI before they'll enter a particular location or scene?
Yes.
And did you draft such a search warrant?
Yes, I did.
You show Defense Counsel States Exhibit 342. And I hand you what we marked as States Exhibit 342 and ask if you can identify that document.
Yes.
What is States 342?
This is the affidavit for the search warrant, the return, and the inventory of the items collected during the search warrant.
Okay, and who drafted that affidavit for search warrant?
I drafted the affidavit.
And did you cause it to be signed by a competent judicial authority?
Yes.
Who was that?
Judge Good through municipal court here in the city of Ashland.
Okay. And once that was in hand, what did you proceed to do?
Myself, patrol, and BCI agent Staley and I believe Wingrove went to Covert Court 363, 363 and a half, 365, 365 and a half.
Okay. And that's the official listing of that residence in Covert Court, 363 and 363 and a half?
Yes.
And one would refer to the downstairs and one would refer to the upstairs, is that correct?
Yes.
And what did you do on that scene?
As we got to the scene, again, it was secured. There was officers already there. It was secured by tape and blocked off. And our first thing, myself, Lieutenant Schreffler, Agent Staley, and Agent Wingrove went into the residence and did overall pictures and just walking through the scene to see exactly what was going to be needed manpower-wise and what was actually going on at the time.
And as you walked through that scene, what was your impression?
There's going to be a lot of evidence, and it was strewn through the entire 363, 363 and a half of that residence.
Was there an odor to the residence?
Yes.
How strong?
I'd say fairly strong. There was also some fly activity, and you could tell that there was just stuff strewn about the place, mainly the bedroom and kitchen area, the downstairs.
And the evidence collection was conducted by whom?
The BCI agents.
And what did you do while that was transpiring?
As we went through and took the overall photos and found, what we'd found and went back outside, the BCI agents called for more trucks / agents. And then again, I stayed on the perimeter while BCI agents were in and out collecting evidence, and I stayed in contact back on station with Detective Dorsey, Sergeant Rome from the police department. I believe I also spoke with Detective Major as she was talking to the defendant, Mr. Grate. They were passing on some things that were being said that may or may not be different things to look for in the residence.
Okay. And how long did you stay at the location at 363 Covert Court?
I believe we were there till, I'm not sure, but 8 or so p.m. It was well into the evening or night.
And so you stayed there as long as personnel were on scene?
Yes.
Is that fair to say?
Yes.
At some point during the day, did the fire department arrive?
Yes, they did.
Why was the Ashland Fire Department involved?
They were involved because the upstairs closet where Miss Griffith was found, her body had, I guess, ballooned up to where she could not be taken back out through the doorway. So they had to go in and knock out a wall to extract her body out.
And were they successful in doing so?
Yes.
And the following day, did you have any duties reference the evidence that had been collected the day before by BCI Agent Staley?
Yes.
What was that?
At the end of that night, all the evidence was taken from the scene to our police department. We have a couple of different evidence rooms. We have one evidence room. We have an evidence like cage for larger items or large amounts of items for a case, so that all that evidence was stored in that cage for the night. The next day on the 14th, Agent Staley came back, started itemizing those items in a printable form for paperwork. And at that point, when he was done itemizing those items, well, halfway through that, I collected 2 items from him, 2 cell phones. And then they continued computerizing, doing the paperwork for the evidence sheets. Then when they were done with that, they gave me those paperwork of the evidence sheets. Then I filled a sheet out on our police department letterhead, and then technically paper-wise, then it was entered into evidence, but it was technically in evidence the entire time.
Okay, and you took custody and control of all of that evidence?
Yes.
Show you what we've marked as State's Exhibit 120. And ask if you can identify that.
Yes.
What is 120?
120, the first page would be the Ashland Police Department's evidence log. And then going back further would be the chain of custody for the evidence on this evidence log. Then as you go back through the multiple pages, there's a typed out computer generated pages. Those would be the pages that BCI Agent Staley went through item and item and then printed out. So this is technically, the printed version would be BCI's evidence sheet. And that is it.
Going back just real quick to State's Exhibit 342, the search warrant. Is that a true and accurate copy of the search warrant? As you drafted it, had it signed, and then attached the BCI evidence return?
Yes.
And the BCI evidence return that's attached to State's Exhibit 342, is it the same that is attached and encompassed within State's Exhibit 120?
Yes, it is.
What is the purpose of the evidence log that's 120?
To keep track of where the evidence is at and who has, for a chain of custody, so there's always a chain in the evidence, as in to where the evidence is at. If someone comes in and needs to take like one item of evidence out, then there'll be an annotation of who took that out, when they took it out, and when it goes back. It just keeps track of where the evidence is and who has custody of it.
Let me show you what we marked as State's Exhibit 146. And ask, do you recognize that?
146 would be item number 77 on the evidence log.
And as an item of evidence that you took custody of then from BCI Agent Staley,
Yes.
and it's documented within Exhibit 120.
Exhibit, yes.
Yeah, Exhibit 146 is
Documented in 120.
The movement thereof is documented in 120.
Yes.
And does State's Exhibit 146 appear to be in substantially similar condition as to that as it was found or turned over to you on September 14th, 2016?
Yes, except for, obviously, it's been cut open, the packaging itself.
And State's Exhibit 144. Is that exhibit documented within State's Exhibit 120?
Yes.
And is that document, and what is that exhibit?
This exhibit is an envelope containing fake cell phone.
Okay. And does it appear to be in substantially similar condition as when you took custody of it on September 14th, 2016?
Yes.
Show you State's Exhibit 140. Yes, can you identify that or that piece of evidence?
140 would be evidence number 16, which is first floor bathroom would be cell phone.
And is that exhibit documented within State's Exhibit 120?
Yes.
And does State's Exhibit 140 appear to be in substantially similar condition to the way it looked on September 14th, 2016, when it was turned over to you from Special Agent Staley?
Yes.
Show you State's Exhibit 148 for that document, or that piece of evidence, please.
148 is evidence number 30, which is the stun gun.
And is that exhibit documented within State's Exhibit 120?
Yes.
And is that also another piece of evidence that you took custody of from Special Agent Staley on September 14th?
Yes, it is.
2016?
Yes, it is.
And does it appear to be in substantially similar condition as to the way it appeared on the day you took custody?
Yes.
Show you State's Exhibit 155.
55 is item number 46, and it is a set of keys to Miss Stanley's vehicle.
And is that one of the pieces of evidence that you took custody of on September 14th, 2016?
Yes.
And is it documented within State's Exhibit 120?
Yes.
And does it appear to be in substantially similar condition as the way it appeared on September 14th when you took custody?
Yes.
Your State's Exhibit 151. What is that item of evidence?
It is item number 38, which is the Microsoft cell phone.
And is that a piece of evidence that you took custody of from Special Agent Staley on September 14th, 2016?
Yes.
And is the transfer of, or is that item contained within State's Exhibit 120?
Yes.
And does it appear to be in substantially similar condition to the way it appeared on September 14th when you took custody of that item?
Yes.
And your State's Exhibit 158. Recognize what that exhibit is?
Yes, I do.
What is that?
This is item number 48, which is the brass knuckles.
Is that included within the property that was turned over to you by Special Agent Staley on September 14th, 2016?
Yes.
And is its movement documented within Exhibit 120?
Yes.
And does it appear to be in substantially similar conditions to the way it appeared on the day you took custody of it from Agent Staley?
Yes, it does.
So your State's Exhibit 171. Recognize what that exhibit is?
Yes, it is item number 59, is the Ohio direction card of Stacy Hicks.
And is that one of the items of evidence that was handed to you from BCI Agent Staley on September 14th, 2016?
Yes,
Is it documented within Exhibit 120?
yes,
And does it appear to be in substantially similar condition to the way it appeared on September 14th when you took custody?
yes,
Show you State's Exhibit 209. What is that?
Item number 72 is paper bag containing billfold.
And is that one of the items of evidence that you took custody of from Special Agent Staley on September 14th, 2016?
Yes, it is.
And is it documented within State's Exhibit 120?
Yes,
And does it appear to be in substantially similar condition to the way it appeared on September 14th when you took custody?
yes, it does.
State's Exhibit 165. Identify that exhibit.
It is item number 54, which is the, obviously the paper bag containing a leather pouch with ID belonging to, and some cards regarding the Shawn Grate.
And is that one of the exhibits, or one of the items of evidence that you took custody of from Special Agent Staley on September 14th, 2016?
Yes, it is.
And is it documented within State's Exhibit 120?
Yes,
And does it appear to be in substantially similar condition to the way it appeared when you took custody of it on September 14th, 2016?
yes,
Okay, State's Exhibit 179. Can you tell us what that is?
79 is item number 71, which is a yellow notebook pad with writings.
And is that one of the items of evidence that you took custody of from Special Agent Staley on September 14th, 2016?
Yes, it is.
And is it documented within State's Exhibit 120?
Yes,
And does it appear to be in substantially similar condition to the way it appeared on September 14th?
yes, it does.
All of the items of evidence that were just shown to you, when you took custody and control of them, where did they stay or go
They were in, initially, they were in our evidence Sally Port area, which is a locked cage, and they went there and stayed there. And they're currently there, except for these items.
And that's what's documented within State's Exhibit 120?
Yes,
And State's Exhibit 120 is a fair and accurate representation of the document as you filled it out, taking custody and control of this evidence from BCI Agent Staley?
yes,
And then further movement within of the evidence would be documented by your fellow officers on the form State's Exhibit 120. Is that correct?
yes.
I'd ask you to look a little further at State's Exhibit 179, the yellow notepad. There's an entire pad, but really only the first page seems to have any writing.
Yes,
Do you agree?
yes,
And about halfway down on this form here, in the middle, I'll indicate a line to you. What is listed on this line?
it says love roses, and then 36 per box, or $1 each.
One more, I'm going to show you what we marked as State's Exhibit 122. Can you identify that item?
Yes, this would be item number 12. It is a suspected sexual device.
And is that one of the items of evidence that you took custody of from Special Agent Staley on September 14, 2016?
Yes.
And is it documented within State's Exhibit 120?
Yes, it is.
And does it appear to be in substantially similar condition to the way it appeared on September 14th when you took custody of that?
Yes, it does.
And then this item would be included in having been placed in property or in evidence by you?
Yes.
All right. Now, Detective, after taking control of all of the items of evidence that had been collected by Special Agent Staley on September 13th, you took control of them on the 14th. Did you specifically then take control of 2 cellular telephones?
Yes.
I'll show you State's Exhibit 140 and 151. And are those the 2 cellular phones that you took custody of specifically?
Yes.
And did anybody else take custody of those at the same time as you?
Patrolman Eisenhower.
Okay, and what were you guys going to do with those phones?
Analyze the phones. We have equipment that will, dump the phones or get data, extract data from cell phones. We're going to extract the data or attempt to extract the data from the cell phones.
Okay, and that specific, I guess, taking custody of those 2 exhibits, that's documented within State's Exhibit 120?
Yes.
And was that also on September 14th that you took those phones back to your office?
Yes, it was.
I take it, within the Detective Bureau, there are multiple offices, are there not?
Yes, it's one room hallway with multiple offices in it.
Okay, and you and Officer Eisenhower were going to analyze these phones?
Yes.
We'll show Defense Counsel State's Exhibit 343. Show you, marked for purposes of identification as State's Exhibit 343. Can you tell us what that is?
A certificate of attending a school on mobile phone forensics back in 2013, put on by Cellbrite, which is the company or the manufacturer of the system that we use to analyze cell phones.
Okay, and does that certificate then reflect your successful completion of that training on the Cellbrite system?
Yes.
And how do one go about using the Cellbrite system?
The system is kind of like internet-based. It comes with a program. So you have a cell phone and you have the program. You plug the phone in. It comes with cords and stuff that you plug into your charging port. You plug the phone into that, and the system does a lot of work itself, but you have to pick what type of information you want from the phone. All phones are different. Some phones, it'll get physical stuff from the phone. Some it'll just get logical, which is just actually on the phone. And it also can get a lot of stuff through cloud services, through like Facebook messaging, and like Wi-Fi apps. So when you plug the phone into like Cellbrite, basically what it does, it doesn't, I guess you could say it copies the data within the phone. It doesn't take the stuff off the phone and leave the phone empty. It puts it in like memory, like gigabytes, and then it puts it in usually in a more readable format for us to go through and create reports off that readable format from the phone.
And you've utilized that system previously in your duties for the Ashland Police Department?
Yes.
Primarily as a detective, what is your forte?
I do the narcotics cases.
Now, in your duties related to the investigation of narcotics cases, you've had occasion to download cell phones?
Yes.
How often are you working on cell phones?
almost daily, but usually definitely weekly.
And I take it from your testimony that when one uses the Cellbrite system, it doesn't alter the information contained in the phone?
Correct, it does not.
And there are various ways you can go about using the Cellbrite system to conduct what's effectively a search of the cell phones. Is that correct?
Yes.
And these cell phones that you were analyzing, did you have occasion to analyze both phones on the 14th or just one?
I analyzed the Microsoft phone, just the one.
Okay, and that's exhibit what?
That is exhibit 38, which is, 151, sorry.
Okay, that'd be item 38 within State's Exhibit 120,
Yes,
but it would be the phone itself is 151.
yes.
And the other phone was being analyzed by whom?
At the point I did the Microsoft Exhibit 151, after doing that, I contacted Patrolman Eisenhower, and then he redid Exhibit 151 and did the other phone. I never attempted the second phone.
And not to question your competency on the system, but who is the real guru of the cell phone analysis at the Ashland Police Department?
Patrolman Eisenhower.
Now, you are analyzing these phones pursuant to the search warrant that we had it marked as State's Exhibit 342?
Yes.
And with the Microsoft phone, did you get to a point in the analysis at which you were going to generate a report?
Yes.
Who actually generated the report with respect to that phone?
Patrolman Eisenhower, like I said, we call it dumping the phone. When you plug it in, it creates a database of that report, or of the phone itself. To go into some detail, Microsoft phone is a very hard phone to get a lot of different data out of. I know the basics of getting the phone out, and I know some workarounds through Patrolman Eisenhower, but once I knew it was a Microsoft phone, and from what I saw in dumping it, I got the videos off the phone, but there was a time discrepancy on the phone versus the actual when the videos were taken. So I called Patrolman Eisenhower, who redid the phone and was able to do a comparison to make sense of why the time was off and get the exact time.
Okay. So then Officer Eisenhower conducted a more in-depth, I guess, analysis of that particular exhibit?
Yes, and did the actual report.
Okay. But you got far enough to tell them, actually see the videos on the phone?
Yes,
And were those videos of evidentiary value?
yes.
What are those videos of, generally speaking?
There were, I believe, 13 altogether. There was one initially of an unknown female. There was 2 of Stacy Stanley being raped and being told she's not free to leave. And there were 9 to 10 videos of Lori being held against her will and repeatedly forcibly raped.
And so Lieutenant Eisenhower then took over and was able to garner more information about those videos than you.
Yes.
Your analysis, however, your work on that phone, did that alter those videos in any way?
No, it did not.
So they would, when Lieutenant Eisenhower took over the analysis of that phone, there was no damage to the phone
No, not at all.
and no alteration to its contents?
No.
Did you participate in an interview with the defendant on September 15th, 2016?
Yes.
And did you participate in a video demonstration?
Yes, I did.
What was that video demonstration?
Mr. Grate was going to demonstrate on how he choked his victims.
And who did he demonstrate on?
Me.
On September 19th, 2016, did you go to Lori Spillick's apartment?
Yes.
many times over the course of the investigation did you go to Lori Phillips' apartment?
Twice.
Was this the first time or the second time?
This was the first time.
Okay, and who went with you?
Me, Lori, and Detective Major.
And what was your purpose in going there?
This was the first time that Lori has been back to her residence. She'd been staying at a shelter. And she wanted to go back. Two, we wanted to go back with her, and then she walked us around the apartment. And we also had some questions regarding where she kept her money and how she kept it.
Okay. And did she answer those questions for you?
Yes.
Was there also an item in a box that the defendant had discussed?
Yes, she pointed that out. She brought up that to us before we left.
And were items at that time collected as evidence?
No, they were not.
And what was the plan reference the collection of that evidence?
At the point we left there, we contacted Agent Staley from BCI, set up a time with him to come back to the apartment to actually collect the evidence that we needed. And the door was secured and taped off. That way we would know if anybody else was in the apartment from the time we left there on the 19th and the 21st when myself and BCI Agent Staley returned.
Okay, and when you returned, I think you said on the 21st?
Yes.
To that apartment, did you or Agent Staley photograph the interior of that apartment?
Yes, Mr. Staley did.
And you were with him as he did that?
Yes.
And then the items of evidence were collected at that time?
Yes, they were.
What was collected?
A green change purse and a metal box.
Okay, those are the two items that were pointed out to you by Lori Spillick on the 19th?
Yes.
When you were there on the 19th, did you manipulate either of those items of evidence?
No, we did not. She just pointed them out to us and we didn't touch them at all.
Okay. I'll show you State's Exhibit 182. Do you recognize what that's a photograph of?
Yes, I do.
What is that a photograph of?
It'd be a photograph of her front door. It's got some writings on it. It's got the leather eye. And you can see above the deadbolt lock, you can see a piece of tape with some initials.
And are these the photographs that were taken by Agent Staley when you and he returned to the apartment on the 21st of September?
Yes.
Your Honor, if we could publish the exhibit.
Any objection, Mr. Whitney?
No objection, Judge, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. In looking at this particular exhibit, you indicated that the tape is visible that you placed on the door when you and Detective Major left it on the 19th.
Yes.
Where is that located on the door?
You can see it above the deadbolt, probably 6 inches there in the crease of the door and the door jamb. Mainly you can see the initials more than the tape.
Okay, and looking at State's Exhibit 183.
Yes.
Your Honor, if we may publish.
Yeah, he had no objection to the photos.
Is that I guess, a close-up of the tape discussion?
Yes.
And whose initials are those?
Those are my initials.
And the significance of the date?
Is the date that we were there with Detective Major and Lori the first time.
When you returned with Agent Staley, had the tape been disturbed?
No, it had not.
As you viewed the apartment on the 21st, did it appear to be in substantially similar condition to the way it appeared on the 19th?
Yes.
Did it appear that anybody had entered the apartment?
No, it did not.
State's Exhibit 184.
Any objection, Mr. Whitney?
No, Judge.
at there?
184 would be a picture of, just as you open the door, pretty much the living room area just off to the left of the door.
Okay.
185 would be a picture of the living room, taking one step into the doorway, a broader picture of the living room area.
I'm trying to think if it's been already published before.
These all have been. Any objection to any of the photos have been previously published? So I don't have to ask you. Okay, thank you.
All right. What are we looking at there?
Be a picture of the living room area of her apartment, just inside the door.
And the couch that's depicted in 185, is that it looks like there's another couch. There's two couches in there.
Yes.
Which couch had the box that was of evidentiary significance?
It'd be Exhibit 185, the one published now, along with the green, more green blanket thrown over it with a clear plastic baggie on the couch.
Okay, and looking at State's Exhibit 186, where are we looking
Still a picture of the same living room, one more step in the living room, a picture more to the right of the living room.
at? Now, is the green wallet visible in this picture?
Yes, it is.
Where is it?
If you look in the center of the picture, you'll see the big TV. To the right of that, you'll see like a stand, and then to the right of that, you'll see a white, more of a bookshelf. On top, you'll see a speaker. The first shelf down, you'll see there's quite a bit of stuff there. The second shelf down, which would technically be the middle of that shelf, you'll see a kind of like a lime green change purse. That's where it's at.
So in this, you look past the tennis rackets and just above the teddy bear. And the green item on the shelf there in the center of that picture was blue.
Yes.
State's Exhibit 187.
187 is another picture of the living room. This time it's inside the living room, taking a picture back towards the door we entered.
And again, that's the couch, and the box underneath it.
Yes.
And 188.
.188 is a picture of the back bedroom.
Okay. And 189.
.189 again is a picture in the living room. It's an up-close picture of the TV, the stand, and then the white bookcase with the green change purse.
So you State's Exhibit 180, or 191. What is that item?
Exhibit 191 is the evidence of the green wallet from the shelf.
And at the time it was collected by Agent Staley, did you have occasion to look in the wallet?
Yes,
And what'd you find?
I believe there was nothing in the wallet.
And State's Exhibit 196.
.196 is the metal container that was underneath the couch in Lori's living room.
And that item was located under the couch and collected by Special Agent Staley in your presence?
Yes.
Do both of those items appear in substantially similar condition as to the way they appeared when they were collected on September 21st, 2016?
Yes.
And States Exhibits 182, 183, 184, 185, 186, 187, 188, and 189, the photographs that you testified to, do they fairly and accurately depict Lori's apartment as it appeared on September 21st, 2016?
Yes, they do.
I'll show you what we marked for purposes of identification as States Exhibit 197. What is that item?
197 is the first page, is the Ashland Police Department, our evidence log, again, that we do for our chain of custody and itemizing what the evidence is. The second page is again the evidence log, basically that Agent Staley prepared for the items taken from 236 Matthews apartment I's and Ida, the day on the 21st.
And you took custody of both of those items from Agent Staley?
Yes.
And does States Exhibit 197, is that a fair and accurate copy of the evidence log as it would be on file with the Ashland Police Department?
Yes, it is.
I'll show you what we marked as States Exhibit 202. Can you identify that document?
This is the first page, is the Ashland Police Department's evidence log. The second page is BCI Staley's evidence log, and it's of a thumb drive that was turned over to me also on the 21st of September from Agent Staley to me.
I'll show you States Exhibit 8. What is that exhibit?
Takes Exhibit 8 is item number 24 on the police department's evidence sheet. It is the thumb drive that Agent Staley turned over to me on September 21st, 2016.
And what did you do with that thumb drive?
It was placed into evidence.
And is that documented by States Exhibit 202?
Yes, it is.
And is 202 a fair and accurate copy of the evidence log as it can be found on file with the Ashland Police Department?
Yes.
You in fact filled out States Exhibit 202 and created that document, is that correct?
Yes, I did.
And the items of evidence, just to go back real quick, that the green wallet and the box with contents documented within States Exhibit 197, what did you do with those items after they were turned over to you by BCI Agent Staley?
They were placed in the city police department's evidence.
And that is documented by States Exhibit 197, is that correct?
Yes.
So States Exhibit 347 to Defense Counsel. I'll show you States Exhibit 347, but before I ask you what that is, can you see in Lori's apartment the area of the green wallet from the door?
Yes.
So you don't have to enter the apartment in order to see where she keeps her money?
Correct. If you knew where that would be, you could see straight across and see that area, yes.
Okay. And what is then State's Exhibit 347?
347 would be a picture of her apartment with her door open, kind of a picture just straight ahead.
Your Honor, can we publish State's Exhibit 347?
Any objection?
Okay.
All right, and what are we seeing within this exhibit?
You're seeing when the door opens. In most of these apartments, there's usually a wall straight ahead like there is here. Off to the right would be the kitchen area. Off to the left would be the living room area. If you look off to the left, you'll see the top of the teddy bear's head. If you go past that, you'll start to see area of the white bookshelf that I call it. You can see the middle shelf as to where Lori kept her green change purse.
And as we attempt to zoom in there, is that the flash of green we see just past the tennis rackets?
Yes,
So again, one would not need to enter the apartment. One could be in the hallway and see that location
correct.
clearly.
Yes.
Now, at some point in time, did you make contact with a Deborah Steinauer at Circle K on Main Street in the city of Ashland?
Yes, I did.
What was your purpose in making contact with her?
Oh, and speaking with Mr. Grate, I believe the second time on the 21st, talking about the money taken from Lori and asking what he'd done with it. He'd said he went to Circle K, and I asked which Circle K, and he said on Main Street. And he estimated it was in the evening time on the 12th, which would have been the Monday before the 911 call on the 13th.
And you know Deborah Steinauer?
Yes,
Have you had occasion to request her assistance in cases prior to this one?
yes,
And are you familiar then with the operation of Circle K's video system?
yes.
What did you request of Ms. Steinauer?
I requested her to go through her video on the 12th, and I think I started from about 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. and had her burn me 2 discs from video from that time frame. And then I brought it back to the station, and then I went through those videos until I found a point that I saw Mr. Grate coming into the Circle K on the 12th.
And I'll show you what we've marked as State's Exhibit 341. You recognize that item?
Yes, I do.
What is it?
It is the disc that contains the Circle K surveillance video.
And how can you be so sure just looking at the disc?
Well, one, it's marked, and 2, it's initialed by me, meaning that I've watched what's on this disc and know it to be the surveillance from the Circle K.
So you reviewed that particular exhibit prior to arriving in court today?
Yes,
And does it contain the same video footage that was turned over to you by Deborah Steinauer?
yes,
And is it a true and accurate representation of what was turned over to you by Deborah Steinauer?
yes,
Now, within that system, do you then, at your office, have the ability to print out still photos from
Yes.
the video?
yes,
And did you do so in this case?
yes, I did.
Show defense counsel State's Exhibit 344, 345, and 346. In reviewing the video footage, did you find anything of interest?
Yes, I did.
What'd you find?
Mr. Grate had previously stated that he was in there on the 12th in the evening time, and he had used the money from Lori's apartment to purchase some Marlboro Black 100s and a puller pop. And after viewing the video, I see Mr. Grate come into the Circle K in the evening time on the 12th and purchase a pack of Marlboro Black 100s and a puller pop.
I'll show you State's Exhibit 344. What is that?
344 would be a snapshot picture from the surveillance video of Mr. Grate walking in to the front doors of the Circle K on East Main Street.
And Your Honor, if we could publish 344, 345, 346.
Any
No
obje-
objection.
Thank you.
All right, and approximately what time did this occur?
8:02 p.m.
United States Exhibit 345.
345 is, again, another still shot picture from the surveillance video, the Circle K, of Mr. Grate up at the counter. You can see some cash in one hand. Right in front of that hand with the cash, you can see a puller pop. And then you can see the clerk grabbing off the counter a pack of Marlboro Black 100s.
United States 346.
346 is, again, is a snapshot picture from the surveillance video, again showing Mr. Grate at the counter, and this time he's handing cash to the clerk at Circle K.
And then there's also within states, those are stills off of the video on States Exhibit 341, correct?
Yes.
And you reviewed that video?
Yes.
Your Honor, if we might again publish the video in 341.
Any objection?
No, sir.
You may.
Thank you, Your Honor. All right, what view is this, Detective?
That would again be the view of the Circle K on East Main Street of the entrance doors.
And what did we just see?
Mr. Grate come into the Circle K on East Main Street.
What view is this, Detective?
This would be a view from pretty much above the entrance doors, more towards the front counter clerk area of the Circle K on East Main Street.
And who is this that's on video currently?
Mr. Grate on the customer side of the counter and a clerk on the employee side of the counter. be a view of right above the counter at the Circle K on East Main Street.
And what view is this again?
Again, above the doors, looking at the entrance doors to the Circle K on East Main Street.
And who is this that we're observing?
Mr. Grate leaving the restaurant or the convenience store.
And approximately, or not approximately, what time did this occur?
8:04 p.m. and 34 seconds.
Are those videos fair and accurate depictions of the video as you reviewed it? Having received it from Ms. Steinhauer?
Yes.
And approximately when did you make this request of Ms. Steinhauer?
I believe it was on the 23rd of September, 2016.
Okay, and was she able to comply with your request in a reasonable period of time?
Yes.
We'll go back to State's Exhibit 146. First item that I had handed you in a series of exhibits. What, physically, what is that?
That's a evidence envelope containing a pack of Marlboro Black 100s.
Would you hold those up, please? And there's a pack that looks like that, what we saw in the video, is being purchased by Shawn Grate at Circle K on Main Street.
Yes.
And then that item is one of the items that was turned over to you by Agent Staley?
Yes.
So that item was located where?
It's located in the bedroom on what I'd call a nightstand just next to the bed of Shawn Grate.
And in fact, it's photographed there with Polar Pop.
Yes, it is.
Correct.
Yes.
Just to be clear, State's Exhibit 342, the search warrant, that is an accurate copy of the search warrant as you drafted it and then had it signed by Judge Good?
Yes.
State's Exhibit 347, is it a fair and accurate depiction of the scene at Lord Spillick's apartment as you observed it?
Yes.
Creek Apartments in their entirety, it's your understanding that both Lori Spillick and Elizabeth Griffith resided there, correct?
Correct.
What county and state are those apartments located in?
Ashland County, Ohio.
And the gentleman that you've been referring to is Shawn Grate. Is he located here in the courtroom?
Yes, he is.
Would you point him out, please, and describe what he's wearing?
He's at the defendant's table, white shirt, tie, glasses, dark hair.
The record could reflect the identification of the defendant.
Record will so reflect.
And detective, to be clear, the gentleman seated in the white shirt and tie at defense counsel's table, is that the same gentleman that demonstrated on you on September 15th, 2016, how he strangled two women on video?
Yes, it is.
Thank you, nothing further.
Cross.
Detective Evans, if I understood correctly, on September 15th of 2016, you took part in a interview between Detective Majors and Shawn Grate, and you were there, present for that.
Yes, I was.
All right. And I believe during that time, or maybe at the end of that interview, there was a demonstration involving yourself and Shawn Grate.
Yes.
And during the time or before leading up to that, maybe during the time where there's some little bit of humor exchange between you and Shawn.
I believe I comment on the way he's smiling at me, because I requested if he wanted me to get like a teddy bear or a doll or something, and just the way he looked over at me, he said, I was thinking about just doing it on you. So at that point, he smirked, and I kind of smirked back at him, yes.
So my question was correct, there were some moments of humor between the two of you. Or
I don't know if I call it humor, it's just,
jovial interchange between the two of you?
yes, there was a smirking between the two of us, the way the conversation led up to it, yes.
Smirking and jovial, would that mean the same thing, sir?
I would say yes.
Oh, thank you.
And what exactly was the topic of discussion at the time the defendant was smirking and jovial with you, detective?
Actually showing me how he choked women to their death.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Detective. You're excused.
Thank you.
Your Honor, that's all the witnesses we had scheduled for presentation today.
Okay, it's 4:19 p.m. We will be recessing for the day until 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. Ladies and gentlemen, please be back in the jury room at 8:45 tomorrow morning so we can get started promptly at 9. Again, don't discuss this with anyone. Don't let anybody discuss it with you. Don't look at any media reports. Don't read anything in the newspaper. Don't go out on the internet and or any social media networks to read anything about this. Don't form any opinions or draw any conclusions yet. And otherwise comply with the court's general order of admonitions. And we'll see you tomorrow morning, 8:45.